Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Today we're looking at volume of prisms, okay? So to find the volume of any prism, we're going to take the area of the base, which I use a big capital B for, and we're going to multiply it by the height of the prism. So I use a capital B and a capital H to represent the area of the base and the height of the prism. So I'm going to write it under here. The capital B stands for area of the base, and that capital H stands for the height of the prism. So before we were using lowercase b's and h's to find the area of a polygon, like a rectangle, a triangle, parallelogram, all that fun stuff. We're using little b's and little h's. So for the volume of a prism, I want to use a capital B to represent the area of the base, okay? So that's the first thing we're going to do in all of these problems is find that capital B, the area of the base. So when I do this first example here, number 1, the first thing I always like to do is I like to shade in my base. Now this is a rectangular prism. I know it's a rectangular prism because it's all its sides are rectangles. So with a rectangular prism, I can kind of pick which side, which rectangular face I want to call the base. So I'm going to pick this one because it looks very base-like to me. I don't know. There's no wrong answer here. So I'm going to call that the base. And with a prism, what we should know from previous lessons is that the other base is congruent and parallel to that original base down there. So a prism should have two bases. This one does. And we need to find the area of that shaded in base. So I'm finding the area of this base that I shaded in. And I call that capital B. Now, you notice that that's a rectangle, and the rectangle area is found by a little b times a little h. So look at that little rectangle that I shaded in for my base. And maybe we'll say that the base of that base, okay, the little b, maybe the little b is 6. And that means the height, which has to run perpendicular to it, is going to be 3. So my little b is 6, and my little h is 3. That's cool. Base times height, length times width, whatever floats your boat. So the area of my base, the area of this rectangle right here is 6 times 3, 18. I feel like I made that more complicated than it needs to be. Dude, find the area of that rectangle, multiply it by the height of the prism. You guys are in high school now. You know that the height doesn't always mean up and down. The height means it's perpendicular to the base. With prisms, I like to think of it as a base connector. It connects one base to the other base. So the length that connects the one base to the opposite congruent parallel base has a length of 9. So our big H is 9. So I've got a big B that's 18 and a big H that's 9. So the volume equals the big B times the big H, and that's going to be 18 times 9. And what is 18 times 9? It's 162. And I didn't use any units, so I'm just going to write units. And since it's volume, it's going to be cubic units, or units cubed. So the volume of that rectangular prism is 162 cubic units. I could fill it with 162 Legos that are 1 cube, I don't know. So anywho, that's how you do it. You find the area of the base and you multiply it by the height. So let's do example number 2. First of all, that's a triangular prism. I know it's a triangular prism because it has two triangles as bases. Why do the triangles need to be the bases? The triangles need to be the bases because you notice all those rectangles, those are the lateral faces, and they're not parallel to each other. Those triangles, though, they are parallel to each other. So those are the bases. It's a triangular prism. So since I said that my base was a triangle, that means to find the area of that big base, that big B, I've got to use the triangle formula, 1/2 little b times little h. So take a look at our triangle. Let's figure out, remember, little b's and little h's have to be perpendicular to each other. So I could say that the height of my triangle is 8. And I could say that the base of my triangle would be, well, that 6 would go to that line right there. So the base of my triangle could be 6. And then it's a triangle, so it's got to have the 1/2. So my big B could be found by doing 1/2 of 6 times 8. Now, if you notice there, I did not use the 10. The 10 was the hypotenuse. That doesn't run perpendicular, so that's not going to be my base or my height. So that 10 isn't really going to be used. It's just going to be there to distract you. So my big B is going to be 1/2 of 6 times 8, which is 24. And then the height of my prism, remember I said the height runs perpendicular to the bases. It's a base connector. So the height connects one base to the other base. The height connects one base to the other base. The height connects one base to the other base. So all three of those segments would be could be the height. And you see it has a height of 5. So my big B is 24. My height is 5. So the volume, just like all prisms, it's big B times big H. It's 24 times 5, which is, I think, 120. It's volume, so it's going to be inches cubed. Oh, and I just noticed, I feel like a dummy, that the last question did have a units. It was in miles, so it wouldn't just be units cubed. The last question would have been miles cubed. Oops. I am not going to go back and edit the video. So volume is always measured in cubic units because it's like how much could you fill something, okay? How many blocks would it take to fill this or that or whatever? 2 more examples. This video is becoming longer than I wanted it to be. All right, a trapezoidal prism. So let's go ahead and shade our base because that's like the cool thing to do. All the cool kids are doing it these days. I'm gonna shade my base. Yeah, that's a good looking base right there. I've seen a lot of bases in my day, but that green base, okay. So anyways, it's a trapezoid. So our base, and I know it's the base because there's a parallel matching one on the other side. That's how bases work with prisms. So the capital B, the base, is a trapezoid. So I'll use the trapezoid formula. 1/2 little b1 plus little b2 times the height. So on my trapezoid, the bases would be again, because bases are parallel to each other, the base would be that piece and that piece because they're parallel to each other. So that looks like a 9er, because whatever that is, this guy's the same one. So 9er and a 4. And then the height of the trapezoid, okay? Don't get confused with the big H, because that's different. But the height of my trapezoid connects the 2 bases of my trapezoid. When I'm doing this big B part, I'm only looking at the trapezoid. I'm not looking at anything else but the base. So it looks like my height is a 4.3. I might need to use a calculator on this one. All right, so I got 1/2 of 13 times 4.3. Yeah, I'm going to go to my calculator. And I'm going to say 0.5 times 13 times 4.3. And I got 27.95 for my big B. Not done. I need my H. Now remember, your big H connects one of your bases to your other bases. So in this case, it connects one trapezoid to the other trapezoid. One trapezoid to the other trapezoid. One trapezoid to the other trapezoid. So our height is 6 kilometers. Got my H, got my big B. To find the volume of this prism, multiply your big B times your big H. Alright, so it's 27.95 multiplied by 6. According to my calculator, it's 167.7, and that's kilometers cubed. That is a big trapezoidal prism. Wow. Number 4, another triangular prism. All right, so again, let's shade our bases. That's a shady base. Yeah. All right. Shading my base, shading my base, shading my base all over the place. Hit song, just made it up. All right, guys, so it starts with a big B. In this case, our base is a triangle, so I'll use the triangle formula. 1/2 little b little h. So only looking at my triangle, nothing else except my triangle. What is my little base? Well, I see this length right here, and I see this little perpendicular right angle here. So I know I can have a base and a height right there. And if this is 7, I know that could be 7 too. So I see 2 perpendicular segments there, which could be my base and height. So I could use 7 for the base and 3.8 for the height, or the other way around, whatever floats your boat. So my base, capital B, is going to be 1/2, so 0.5 times 7 times 3.8. So my big B is 13.3. Now we said the height connects one base to the other base. One triangle to the other triangle. Well, that would be that distance, that distance, that distance, connecting the 2 triangular bases of that prism. And our big H is 7 feet. So to find our volume, I have everything I need. My big B, my big H, so the volume equals 13.3 times 7. My calculator tells me that that's 93.1 cubic feet. Oh yeah. So guys, I hope you learned something in this video. It was definitely longer than I wanted it to be. The video is probably longer than your assignment will take you. Crazy. But I got to go through each prism and show you how I like to do it. You shade the bases. You find the area of that base. It's easy. You did that in middle school. Then multiply it by the height of the prism. The height of the prism connects the 2 bases. So don't be deceived. Have fun. Send me a message if you have any questions. Bye.